learned how to deal with injuries. There's no doubt about that. Using 40 different pitchers, it was a challenge, and unfortunately, it kind of became the story of our season. We just couldn't overcome it. But we did a lot of good things throughout the season to hang in there. I think at one point in August we may have had one of the wild card spots, but weren't able to keep it going, through September. So I think you have a chance to reflect on where we're at as a ball club and organization, and trying to move forward. Take that next step, get into the playoffs.
What do you think about the two deals or acquisitions that you have so far forward?
Excited, I am. I think it's a great fit for the ball club. First on Ryan Healy. Obviously, we saw Ryan a lot the last year and a half, and he swung that very well against us. Looking at him and playing first base, predominantly, getting him comfortable over there and up to speed. But we like the bat, like the upside of the player. He's got power. Continue to focus on controlling the strike zone to get the most out of the power. More pitches to hit. I think newest acquisition of Dee Gordon is very exciting. Trying to identify, we saw the impact that the speed and athleticism could have in our outfield. Last year with Dyson and Gamble and Haniger running around out there in Heredia. Everybody says taking a chance on Dee. Dee Gordon is a proven major league player. He's been an all-star. We're asking him to move positions. Dee is getting after it. He's already out yesterday, taking fly balls, trying to get comfortable out there. He's going to try to turn himself into a Gold Glove center fielder. So excited to have him on the club. I think that not just what he does, in the lineup every day, hopefully making the adjustment to center field, but he brings energy, excitement, to our ball club, and be a nice top of the order. Him and Seager, however it matches up, to go in front of the guys in the middle. I like our lineup a lot.
Scott, in honor of Shannon, are you planning on going with Gordon and Seager right now as your 1-2 hitter?
In honor of Shannon. Shannon likes to be on top of the lineup construction in Seattle. So right now we'll probably go with Dee Gordon at the top with Segura. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out as we get into spring training. And like I said, our lineup is very deep. I think you'll start looking at the bottom of the lineup, and you've got Healy and Haniger and Zunino and Gamble, those guys that all put together nice stretches last year and nice seasons. So, and that's what it's going to take. We've got a tough division. The American League continues to get tougher, and you got to have deep lineup.
Scott, have you talked to Dee about moving to center, and kind of how is he receiving it?
Absolutely. We talked about it. We had, obviously Jerry and doing the deal with the Marlins. The Marlins knew where we were headed about it, and gave Dee a little bit of a heads up. I think Dee was surprised, rightly so. But talking with him just a couple hours after the deal, he understood where we're going and said to me, and I know he said to Jerry as well, if this is what makes the ball club better, let's get after it. I will turn myself into a quality center fielder, and that's what he's going to do.
How big a challenge is that for you?
A guy that talented and that athletic and that fast, and you're looking at different things that he's done throughout his career, even going back on pop-ups at second base. He's got unbelievable range, and that's what we're using to hopefully take advantage of that, in the outfield and running the balls down, and offensively just do what he does. He's been very good getting on base. I think he's scored over 110, 115 runs last year. If he does that again this year, we'll be in really good shape.
Jerry said that Nelson's gathered a large group of your players down in Miami to work out like as a team group down there. What do you think of that he's getting all these guys to go down there and work out together for a couple of weeks?
I think it's fantastic. Yeah, it's something that in the exit meetings at the end of the year, I know it's an idea that Nelson had that he brought up to me. I thought it was tremendous, really pushed that he should do that. It really should be done, with the players themselves. There's no going to be any club personnel down there. No coaches, whatever. Guys just spending some time together in the off season, working out. And Dee Gordon is going to join the group. Ryan Healy will join the group. So anytime you can do those things away from the field, it helps with the team building. As we go into spring training, knowing what's ahead of us.
Nelson likes to work out in the off season. I imagine those won't be easy workouts.
Those will not be easy workouts. Nelson, I'm sure he'll have his training guru down there, Iron Glenn, will be in there, and I know Nelson's looking to have a big year. He's had a big year every year. He's been a Mariner, and he's just looking to continue to get better, even at the age he's at. And nothing surprises me anymore with Nelson Cruz. So I appreciate the leadership and him stepping out and trying to set things like this up, and the other guys jumping on board.
Scott, what are your feelings about Felix at this stage of his career? Felix, what does he need to do?
I think Felix would be the first thing. He needs to stay healthy. It is going to be about his health. He's had an unbelievable career. people in Seattle have been able to enjoy that, but they haven't been able to enjoy watching Felix pitch in a playoff game. He knows, kind of where he's at in his career. Trying to do some different things, training this offseason to be ready. He doesn't have to get ramped up as early as he did last year. There's no WBC this year, which is a good thing for the Mariners. But for us to get where we need to go, I think everybody knows Felix has maybe taken a step back on the velocity on the fastball. Has not lost his know-how, his field of pitch, his competitiveness is all still there, and that's what we need. If Felix can give us 30, 32 starts this year, he'll put up his numbers and we'll be just fine. But I think the expectations, and he set the bar very high, he did it to himself, are not quite where they were before. We realize that, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to show people he can still be the king, and I'd love to see it again.
Is he, we've talked about this for a couple of years now, but does he have to buy into the fact that he's not the dominant pitcher that he was?
I think you saw that a little bit at the end of the year. I know he had a couple starts there at the end, one in Oakland in particular that comes to mind, where he did not have even kind of where his stuff is at now. The stuff was not good that day, but figured out a way to get through 6 innings, keep the ball club in the game, win the ball game. That's what we're looking for, the innings, the bulk. Yeah. The only way to do that is you got to be out there, you got to be healthy.
Do you feel like one more?
Go ahead, Larry.
Do you feel like you've had him for 2 years and you really haven't seen the rest of him?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
And it's just looking from afar before I got the opportunity here in Seattle. I was so looking forward to you're looking for that guy to kind of anchor down your rotation, the guy you give the ball to, and okay, we can take a deep breath here. We've started to see James Paxton be that guy. I haven't seen it out of Felix yet. It's there. We've seen it for game here, game there, but there's nobody more competitive that wants the ball and wants to take the ball and produce, for the Mariners. So, keeping him healthy, getting him off to a good start, maybe change up a few things in spring training and how he kind of revs up for the season is something we're looking at and probably going to do this year.
How key is Paxton? How good could he be?
Sky's the limit, really. He really carried us. In the rotation, as banged up as we were able to hang in there last year because Pax was giving us consistent 6-7 innings every time out, so you can kind of give the bullpen a little bit of a breather on those days. It's going to be really important for us to continue to progress. He's really, the confidence level is what really is the difference in Pax. He is aggressive on the mound, his demeanor on the mound has changed dramatically, and not just on the mound, also in the clubhouse as a leader. Understanding that, not just the day you pitch, but the other 4 days are important, and to being a good teammate and trying to draw the rest of the group in and talking amongst the pitching staff. And he's really kind of embraced that role, and it's great to see. So this is the step out year for James Paxton. I know people have been talking about it for a while, but you see the success, you see the confidence, now the health. We've got to keep him healthy the whole year and go from there.
But some teams are trying to do a modified 5.5-man rotation with all the off days and stuff to keep guys healthy. You got some guys with injury issues. Are you going to try that throughout the year to try and get your guys extra days rest with all these off days that you have?
It's something we've talked a lot about, and I know a lot of the guys that are proud, they want to make their 34 starts, but it's about keeping them healthy, keeping it going, because we saw what happens when they're not healthy. So we've talked a lot about it. To do that, you've got to have 5, 6 guys, to run a 6-man rotation that you feel comfortable about giving them the ball and not just you run out there, but you're only lasting 2 1/3 or 3 1/3. So you got to have not just the quantity, but the quality to do it as well. So it's something I think we can do. We do have a lot of off days early, so you might not see us break out of camp that way, but at some point during the season we could pull back and put an extra guy in the rotation.
How do you see a rotation beyond Felix, Paxton?
Erasmo Ramirez, acquiring him, I thought he did a really nice job. We had to build him up. He was in the bullpen in Tampa when we got him back. He'll be in that mix, to fill out the rotation. Marco Gonzalez, obviously we traded for him last year. We saw some glimpses. The struggle with Marco was to get through that lineup the third time. After having a full season, away from the Tommy John now, probably look to him to add the cutter back into his repertoire, which is going to be really important. It's a pitch that he used a lot before he got hurt. He didn't use it at all last year, so he'll add that back into the mix. And most of the left-handers who throw like he does in the league, they do have the ability to cut the ball in on right-handers, so it's going to be important for him to get that feel of that pitch back.
Bullpen depth. Your bullpen depth is kind of key here. The way you're talking about using your starters.
It is, and you've got to have depth, multiple guys that can do, more than just one inning. I think is really important. We saw the importance of that. And as the game kind of evolves, the guys who can throw the multiple innings, they're not pitching every day, but they can go 2 or 2 in the third, really, really valuable. So, we're still working through our bullpen. Certainly like the back end of it. I think once we acquired David Phelps last year, I loved our bullpen. Unfortunately, when Phelps went down, it changed things. He put a little bit more, workload on the other guys, and we came up a little bit short at the end because we weren't quite deep enough there. So it's one of the things we're trying to address this offseason.
So about Otani.
Who?
Otani.
Shohei? Yes.
Yeah, being in the same division. What was your reaction, and how are you going to prepare now? You have to face him.
Yeah, obviously he's a talented player. We got to spend a little time looking at how he does it and visiting with him. But, he made a decision. He's going to be with the Angels. We will see him a lot. All I can say is he's a really talented player, and, I'm sure we'll have plenty of battles as the years go forward.
Scared to
No.
face against
No.
him?
Respect, no scared. We respect him.
How do you see him as a pitcher and as a
He's a good player.
Did you spend much time, I know you're thinking about how you would use a guy like that, and it's kind of a big picture baseball question. A guy that can do multiple things like that, how big a challenge is that for a manager?
Oh, it is a challenge. I think the two-way guy, how do you keep him healthy, keep going on the mound, and keep the bat going as well? There's no doubt it's a challenge. And all the teams that had talked about possibly bringing him in, I'm sure they all came up with a plan on how to do it. Everybody's going to look at it a little bit differently. I do think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Could open the door for more players. You see it in college, you don't see it in pro ball as much, but more guys that do have the ability of that kind of athletes to go ahead and give it a shot. But this will be a testing ground, so we'll see if you can do it.
Scott, 3 years ago at this time, we were coming off the season where offense had really cratered, and a lot of people were talking about how speed was going to become a big part of the game. Instead, what we've got is a bunch of power. So first, why do you think that happened? And B, just how important is speed in the game today?
Well, I think the people that saw us play every day last year saw the value of speed, certainly in our outfield, and turning a lot of balls that ended up in gaps, turning them into outs. So the athleticism, the speed defensively has been huge. Where the powers come from in the game, obviously there's been focus on it. You see guys, I call it hunting their pitch, shrinking the strike zone, and trying to drive the ball out of the ballpark and getting the ball in the air more consistently. I think that's the biggest change you've seen. Hitters are more aware mechanically in their swings, what they need to do to get the ball in the air, and not chasing pitches, sitting on their pitches, and trying to pull the ball in the air. The result has been more home runs.
Yeah, why do you think that trend happened?
Why do you think?
I get paid to ask the questions. Not
And
to
they
ask
get
them.
paid to hit it out of the park. That'd be my guess. Obviously, guys are getting rewarded. I think there's a record number of guys last year who hit over 20 home runs in the league. But they're hunting their pitches. They're not missing it. They're trying to get it in the air, and they're getting rewarded for it.
It looks like you guys are probably set up to go 13-man pitching staff again. Did you get pretty comfortable having that extra reliever last year?
We've talked a lot internally, 12, 13, you can go back and forth based on kind of your schedule, who you're playing, the matchups, the off days, things like that play into it. I think with how our season played out last year, we had to carry 13. We needed that extra guy in the bullpen. Our starters were not getting deep into games, so you just needed the extra arms. But, a lot of teams, I would say probably more than half in the American League carried 13 last year. And we'll be open to looking at 12 if there's a way that the extra position player can help us at a certain time. But a lot of it will play into schedule, and there are more off days this year, too, that will really help the bullpens.
Does that require that your bench be really versatile?
It does, yes. The guys on the bench have to be able to play multiple positions. And certainly, in a perfect world, the super utility, that's where the Taylor Motters, the Romines really play into this thing because they can play all over the field.
It really does look like, though, for the most part, your position guys are set. I mean, Jerry even said that he didn't think, it's Jerry's, but he didn't think he was going to do anything major.
I do. I like our team a lot. Our position player group, our lineup, we are athletic, we have power, we got speed. The backup catcher position is one that'll kind of play out as we get going through spring training, which is an important spot. I think as much as we like the growth and the step forward that Mike Zunino took, he still needs days off. He can't play every day. And the guy you put back in there, I thought, Carlos Ruiz was with us last year, did a nice job, but probably looking maybe somebody a little bit younger that we can control there and give that guy an opportunity is where we're headed.
On Zunino, do you feel like he really turned the corner where it's going to be more consistent moving forward?
I do. I always think there's going to be the hot streaks and the cold streaks with Z. The thing that I'm as much excited about, obviously the bat has been great. He hit the ball in the ballpark, got the average up there, but really saw a step forward with his game calling and game management behind the plate. I think a lot of it had to do with his confidence level, just rose so much. He felt like he was really contributing offensively. And to that point, the adjustments we made on our coaching staff to kind of going with 3 pitching coaches. With the bullpen coach, Jim Brower is kind of the assistant pitching coach, who is going to work very closely with Zunino in the game calling, the game planning, along with Mel being there will only help. The game's, as much as we get excited about offense and home runs, we saw it last year, it's about pitching. And certainly getting in the playoffs, you've got to have the horses on the mound, and hopefully getting more out of the guys we have, and Zunino playing a big part of that will help us.
You get Gordon center, I assume Mitch pretty much every day to right. Does Gamble and Hernandez kind of split time in left?
Could, yeah. I think Gamble and Heredia, yes, yeah. Splitting up time. One thing that's great about Guillermo, he can play all 3 positions. Very talented defender. Gamble can and Haniger can. And I've got to believe Dee Gordon can. So we really got 4 guys that could play in center field and all over. So you can mix and match with those guys to keep them fresh. But we are young, and I think people don't give us enough credit for the job that we've done in turning over the roster to get younger. They look at Cano and Cruz, and it seems like Felix has been around forever. And those are core, those are our stable guys. But adding the Hanigers, the Gambles, Dee Gordon in his prime, Segura's in his prime. I mean, we've gotten a lot younger the last couple of years, and I don't think we get enough credit for that.
So you got the high performance director now, and she's going to be really involved in player rest and everything. How's that relationship going to work? Is she come to you and say, hey, this guy really beat up, he needs it there? How does that work?
Yeah, Lorena Martin is on board as our director of high performance and kind of overseeing all of our medical, our mental skills, our nutrition, strength and conditioning, everything. I'm really excited to have her on board. It's a different perspective. She hasn't been around baseball a lot, so she's asking a lot of the questions that we've never really thought about. Well, that's the way it's always been done. Does it make it right? Okay, and we're trying to get up to speed there with what's going on in other sports, and it's a huge step forward for us. And incorporating a different perspective. She will be involved in everything from sitting down with her and explaining how a spring training day lays out and the schedule and how to get guys enough rest. And as we get going through the season, the sleep patterns of players, the nutrition is so important for these guys to recover because it is a grind. I think people give enough credit to how long the season is and keeping guys healthy and on the field. But my relationship with her will work very closely together. She will have a say. She's not going to tell me, I don't think, who to hit second or third or fourth, but maybe more importantly, it's like staying out ahead of it, being proactive instead of reactive. You know what, if you give, Siegs a day right now, it may help him down the road. And sometimes as a manager, you need that perspective because you get so locked into today's game, instead of looking at the bigger picture. So I think it's going to be a big, big plus for us.
Do you guys have a blueprint of Kuma's rehab and when he's going to restart?
Yeah, Kuma's coming along really well. He's kind of ahead of schedule from what I understand. As far as putting a date on when we could expect him to kind of play into our mix, some people are talking about mid-May. I'm kind of in the back of my mind, maybe it's mid-May, maybe it's early June. Really hoping the best for Kuma and for him to come back because he was so good for us a couple of years ago. We really missed him last year and what he's able to do, and it's just his consistency of going out there and giving you 6 competitive innings. So I've got my fingers crossed. I really want him back as part of the ball club. He's a huge asset for us, and like I said, we'll hope for the best, but probably mid-May to early June.
Scott, how healthy was he at the end of last year?
Yeah, I think there was more that was not really public. He had the quad issue. He had some lower body issues that didn't affect him maybe so much in the batter's box. You probably saw it more defensively and on the bases. Just wasn't moving as well as he did the year before. But Robbie's going to play. He understands that he's a big part of our team and certainly our offense every day. But you probably saw it affect him more laterally, defensively. It's something we talked about at the end of the year. Coming into spring training healthy after a full off-season working out, and no WBC this year, and so have a little bit more rest and be more geared up for opening days. What we're hoping for there, but it did bother him. You know, he played through a lot of stuff last year.
He really admitted that it took him out of his routine in the spring of all of his workouts and all his stuff because he started hitting and everything in the offseason. Really kind of affected his leg strength and everything right away compared to most years.
Yeah, it did. And again, you know, he's unbelievable career he's had to this point. And these guys know how to get ready for a season. You know, but sometimes as you get a little bit older, you have to do a little bit more. And when your routine gets kind of thrown out of whack like that, it can affect you. But Robbie's going to have a big year for us. There is no doubt. I'm looking forward. I'm going to get down to visit those guys in the Dominican in January again. I look forward to that every year and just spending time with them. You know, and last year I was up to see Nelly, closer to where he lives, and on this trip down, I'll see you know, Robbie and get the guys together down there. So I'm looking forward to that.
With all the information that's available in the game today, do you think that today's player actually understands the game better than they did generations ago, or do they just use different terminology explaining the same things?
They certainly understand the numbers better, in my feeling, and having played in the league for a long time, and the game has changed, it's evolved, and it's going to continue to change, and players are more aware of it because they have access to it. Everything that's on the internet, the different websites, fans are more aware of it. It's constant. Certainly their agents are more aware of it. Front offices are making decisions, you know, looking at the numbers. So the players are more aware of it. Now, do they know the game better? Do they execute better? I think it depends, you know, who you're talking to there. You know, but as far as their awareness goes and them understanding what it means to have more productive at-bats and the value of getting on base, the value of scoring runs, they do have a more awareness there. And certainly on the defensive metrics that have played into the game. You hear about guys talking about that all the time. You know, the range factor, you know, and their base running gets scrutinized. And our team did last year quite a bit on that. It's an area that we have to address this year. So players are certainly way more aware of it.
Yeah, but a related question, sorry, Laurie. The how to phrase this? It was always said that former catchers make the best managers. And you look at a lot of the managers coming in the last few years, none of them really are catchers. Do you think there's any relationship there that players, you know, during their careers maybe look at the game more like catchers did, like trying to understand everything, hence it's an easier transition to manage? Does that make sense?
Kinda. I don't know where you're headed for. Obviously, you know, it's usually an easy slide into the manager's seat as a catcher because you've dealt with pitching. And you've also been on the offensive side. Now you're seeing some of the guys that are getting opportunities. I think there's 6 new first-time managers this year. Maybe going away from that trend a little bit. Do the numbers help educate people and from different positions or their backgrounds a little bit? Maybe so. It may play into it, but I can't really answer that one. I don't know why. You know, and maybe it's cyclical. Maybe you'll see more managers come back. It's just the way the game is lined up right now.
Scott, Seager's numbers for a lot of third basemen would have been good, but he probably feels it was a down year. Do you think he's going to be motivated to get back to where he was?
Yes, Kyle Seager's very motivated to get back where he was. I think he was a little disappointed, kind of the end of the year numbers. You know, he typically always gets off to a slow start, but then we have always seen him carry the team for about a month period, and it kind of, you look at it at the end of the day, and he kind of catches up, and it all works out. Last year, he really didn't have that extended hot streak. That was the one difference that we saw. Talked to Kyle a lot this offseason. He is determined to get back and to get back on top of his game because he had a good year, so it wasn't a typical Kyle Seager year. And you know, we all want to see it back again. Nobody more than himself, and he's working his tail off to make sure that happens again.
You combat slow starts. There's guys who are traditionally slow starters, but you know, and they try everything in the world to fix it. How do you?
You know, sometimes it just becomes mental. You know, you kind of get, that's who I am. And I think at times, Kyle will be open. He'll talk about it all the time. I'm a slow starter. That's just the way it goes. And I think just talking with him, I really wish he wouldn't talk about that. Let's change that. And a lot of times it starts mentally. You know what? This is going to be different this year. I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. And I don't know, maybe I'll just put on the opening day lineup card, maybe that it's June 1st, and see how he reacts to that, and maybe that'll help. But he's aware of it, but you know, a lot of times it can be mental.